ChatGPT is all the rage right now. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you how you can use ChatGPT within your Pinterest marketing strategy. I'm Emily Vales. I'm a Pinterest marketing and ads strategist. And for the past 4 years, I've helped my clients and my students increase their traffic and turn it into profit through the power of Pinterest marketing. So before we dive into all things Pinterest, ChatGPT, and really intermixing the two, let's first establish what exactly is ChatGPT. Now, you may have heard of this term, or maybe you have never heard of this term. If not, I think that you probably will soon, because I am kind of seeing it everywhere in the online space. And I think it's because there are a lot of mixed feelings about this artificial intelligence, and we'll get to more on that in just 1 minute. But first, let's just talk about what is ChatGPT. So essentially, ChatGPT is AI, or artificial intelligence technology. And what you can do with ChatGPT is you can have, honestly, a unusually human-like conversation with the chatbot. So you can ask the chatbot different prompts, questions. You can get ideas, inspiration. You can ask the chatbot to do things for you. And really what it can do is honestly save you a lot of time with your business. But this kind of bridges into where the concern is coming from with ChatGPT. So I teach a lot about obviously Pinterest marketing, but I also teach how to become a Pinterest manager. And becoming a Pinterest manager is working as a freelance service-based business. And starting a freelance business is a really great way to get started with a more flexible lifestyle that provides you freedom and really no cap to your income. And one thing that's concerning is that there's a lot of freelance businesses that are really based on writing. So copywriters, blog writers, social media managers, they do a lot of writing. And people are a little concerned that this artificial intelligence is going to remove the need for these services. And if we remove the need for these services, then people who are offering those services, then their job is kind of on the line, and really their livelihood, which could obviously be very detrimental. But what I'm here to share today is that you can use ChatGPT to save time within your business. However, I'm just going to be honest, I do not think that it removes the need for the human in the equation. So I still think that those different freelance services that I mentioned, such as Pinterest management, writing the pin descriptions, writing the pin titles, doing all of those things, I think that Pinterest managers are still going to be necessary. I think copywriters, social media managers, all of these different freelance service-based businesses, I think that there is still going to be a very real need for the human and the person there, and they can't just easily be replaced by this artificial intelligence. Now, I think that it definitely can be a tool that is helpful, but I find that when I'm giving the prompts and I'm asking questions, and even if it's providing ideas and inspiration and possibly saving me time, that there are still tweaks and things that I need to edit and fine tune. And in my opinion, if you are solely relying on that artificial intelligence, I do think that that's gonna come across in your copy. And I think that it does too depend on the prompts you're asking ChatGPT and how well they're able to formulate really great responses for you. So there's kind of multiple layers that come into play here. But what I'm going to do today is I am just going to give you an overview of how you could use it within your Pinterest strategy. And this is really going to save you time. And then that's also going to help you become more consistent with your Pinterest strategy. Because something that I hear a lot of business owners say when they are thinking about either continuing on with their Pinterest strategy or maybe even getting started with it is time. They are short on time, and Pinterest might be just one more platform. However, if you have tools that can help you save time and really streamline, then it can remove some of the overwhelm when you were thinking about maybe pinning 3 to 5 times a day and staying consistent year over year with your Pinterest strategy. Because in case you are new here, Pinterest is a platform, since it's a visual search engine, that is going to take time. And if you want to be serious about seeing growth on Pinterest, you have to be thinking big picture. So you need to be thinking about that. I am starting Pinterest and I know that it's not going to be an overnight success, but it's something that I'm going to show up and put in time month after month, year over year, because I know ultimately it is a platform that has so much power where my content can continue to live and rank instead of just hours, days, or weeks, months and years. So there's really a very important need for Pinterest and a purpose it serves that's really unique from social media, in my opinion. Now, not to get off on a tangent there, but just showing that it is going to take some time, but when you have tools like ChatGPT, it can help streamline that. So what we're going to do here, I am going to jump over and show you on my computer how to use ChatGPT and really utilize it the best to your ability, making sure you're still following best practices within your Pinterest strategy. So one last thing I want to cover before we take a look at ChatGPT is that when you are using that tool, I still highly recommend having some type of document that you are housing your keywords in. So since Pinterest is a search engine, you need to understand what pillar and long tail keywords you want to be ranking for within your business. And this is important because when you go to utilize ChatGPT and you're typing in different prompts, asking different questions, that's going to help you write better prompts to the chatbot so that it can give you better Pinterest descriptions. See, when you're using that artificial intelligence, you still want to be thinking about those Pinterest best practices, which is really necessary. Now, if you're thinking, Emily, okay, that sounds great about the keywords, having this document to keep them in, but I'm kind of lost. I highly recommend that you go back to one of my other videos, and it is called The 4 Pillars for Your Pinterest Marketing Strategy, and then it's focused on keywords. So it is a 4-part video series, but that specific YouTube video that I'm referring to is focused on keywords. And what that's going to show you how to do is how to find those pillar and long tail keywords that you want to be ranking for. Because then you can go to that document, you can pull those keywords, and when you are providing the prompts to the chatbot, then it's going to give you better responses where hopefully you won't have to make as many tweaks. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the ChatGPT. Okay, first things first, let's go ahead and jump over to chat.openai.com. That's where you are going to want to go in order to utilize ChatGPT. Now, I have already set up an account, and in order to get to this screen where you can start chatting with the chatbot, you will need to enter an email address and a password and set up an account. But it is free and super easy to do. Now, there are other options that you can utilize if you would like to upgrade, and you obviously will unlock other features. However, I have not explored that for my own business, so you might want to look into that if you want those additional features and capabilities. But I just really wanted to get my feet wet and see how I felt about it in regards to using it for writing my pin descriptions, pin titles, and really what it could do for me with saving time. So I'm going to jump over to a chat I had, and you can see it says previous 30 days. So I'm going to click on this. It might take 1 second. There we go. So I'm going to go scroll to the top, and it will show me the very beginning of the conversation. So it's kind of cool that you have that history. So what you'll start by doing to start the conversation, you would click on the plus new chat. This is actually an older chat, but I just wanted to show that you can start the chat, and then essentially what I was doing was I was either asking to tweak what I had prompted them or expand on it. So here's a little overview, and then I am after this going to actually show you start to finish me starting a new chat based off of one of my blog posts. So this first chat that I'm showing, it says, I told the chatbot, please create Pinterest pin description about using Tailwind to automate Pinterest traffic. So that was one of my blog posts, and I had already actually utilized Tailwind to, I think I used the create tool to save time with creating my individual pin images. And then I wanted to quickly come up with those pin descriptions and the pin titles. And then I said, include that they'll be learning the information on my blog and also include a call to action to learn more on my blog. So you can see here that the more specific you are and the better prompts that you're giving the chatbot, the better the response and the less tweaks you're going to have to make if you are wanting to just copy and paste that. So you can see the response was, here's a Pinterest pin description about using Tailwind to automate Pinterest traffic. So it said, looking to streamline your Pinterest marketing efforts and drive more traffic to your website? Learn how to automate your Pinterest strategy with Tailwind on my blog. Discover the power of Tailwind's scheduling and analytics tools and see how you can save time while increasing your reach and engagement on Pinterest. Click through to my blog to learn more and get started today. Then it put the call to action. Ready to take your Pinterest marketing to the next level? Head to my blog to learn how to automate your strategy with Tailwind. So obviously you would kind of need to mesh those two things. And pro tip, you can be very explicit in how many characters even that you want it to include. So when you are writing a Pinterest pin description, it's limited to 500 characters. So one thing that I would tweak moving forward would be to tell the chatbot to keep it to 500 characters or less. So then I put, please give me a search engine optimized pin title to go with the description. And then it put, drive more traffic with Tailwind, learn how to automate your Pinterest strategy on my blog. So that is not something that I would use for a pin title. So this is a good example of something that I was gonna need to use discernment, where if somebody just copy and pasted that, that's not what I would typically write for a pin title. So you might be able to kind of pick that apart, but like in the pin title, I wouldn't put on my blog. That's just not something that you would write. So the next thing I put, please create a pin description. So I'm going back to the description. I think I decided to just write the pin title myself. And it's one of those things that by the time you ask the chatbot, it gives you the response. They're like, oh no, but tweak this, tweak that. For me, I have been doing Pinterest marketing for so long. And I know the keywords that I want to be ranking for my business, like the back of my hand, that it's really just easier for me. I think I just quickly wrote the pin title and I'm like, all right, let's just move on. Now, the pin descriptions, because they are more characters, it might make more sense to utilize the chatbot in that case so that it saves you a little bit of time even if you are having to tweak it. But like I said, the pin titles, they are going to be a little bit shorter. So you can just use, like I mentioned, your discernment there. So this next one says, please create a Pinterest pin description about how to clean up your Pinterest boards and optimize them for the search engine. So I kind of went back and forth, and there's a few times where like I mentioned, I just decided to move on if it wasn't exactly what I wanted instead of the going back and forth. So now what I want to show, I want to explain how to start a new conversation. So typically one thing that I do when I'm creating a new blog post, and this is really a content strategy, but I will create at least 5 unique pins per piece of long form content. So whether that be a new YouTube video, a new podcast, a new blog post, I'm typically creating at least 5 new pins. Now, each pin has a unique title and a unique description. So you can see where that can get a little bit time intensive. But when you're using the chatbot, that can obviously then help you save some time. So once I have written the blog post, and pro tip, remember how I mentioned you could even use the chatbot to, let's say you're getting stumped and you're just kind of hitting a slump with your content creation. You could ask ChatGPT. So for example, please give me 10 blog post ideas, topic of Pinterest marketing. Let's go with that. So then it's going to list out 10 different blog topic ideas or, inspiration that you could take and run with. So 10 proven strategies for driving traffic to your website with Pinterest, the ultimate guide to creating eye-catching pins, boosting your e-commerce sales, how to use Pinterest for business. So you can see if you're feeling like you're in a dry spell, you can kind of take one of those ideas and then run with it. So let's say boosting your e-commerce sales, how to use Pinterest for business. Please write a 1,000 character blog post with the topic of, so let's see so it's gonna list out things. And this is interesting. I'm like, oh, It's actually listing out the different points, which is kind of cool. And I have to be honest and say that I have never written a blog post with using ChatGPT. So you would obviously want to explore that a little bit, take it, tweak it. It is really a fascinating tool for sure. So long story short here, it can take you from ideas to at least even getting an outline. And then once you have that blog post created, or maybe that's a podcast episode, if you're feeling like you're not sure what, next podcast episode do you want to create. But once you actually execute that, now we're going to get to the phase where we are creating at least 5 different pins. And like I mentioned, we need a unique pin title, a unique pin image, and also a unique pin description. So with those 5 different pins, what I'm typically doing is I am taking different angles and hooks, because then that allows me to try to rank for different keywords with each of those pins, so that I'm not using essentially the same title and description and just slightly different variations, but that if you're taking a whole different approach, then it kind of gives you more latitude as far as trying to get people to find your content and discover it. And like I said, you can try to rank for different keywords for those 5 different pins for that one piece of long form content. But when you are thinking about those different pillar or long tail keywords that you're using for those individual pins, you will want to make sure that they're still highly relevant, right? You never want anybody to see your pin, click through, go to the blog post, and feel like, oh, well, this was kind of misleading. That creates a really negative user experience. So that's just one thing to be conscientious of for sure. So here I have let's say that I went from idea to writing the blog post, and maybe probably what I would be doing would just be using ChatGPT for inspiration, but then obviously taking it, tweaking it, and I'm one that I really want my tone and voice to come through. So even if I got ideas or maybe even a rough outline, I would still write the blog post. And then once it's written, let's go ahead and start thinking about creating those 5 individual pins. So that first pin could be how my journey began. So if I'm talking about how my journey began as a Pinterest manager, maybe the pin title is how to get started as a Pinterest manager. So what I would do, and remember how I said that especially with the titles for my pins, it's easier for me to just have those keywords, what I would want to say off the top of my head. So it depends on how well you know like your keywords and what you want to be ranking for. So you could ask, obviously, the chatbot, but let's say I'm going to start a new conversation. Please write a Pinterest pin description that's 500 characters or less on how to get started as a Pinterest manager. And at the end of the pin description, please use, I like to say please, I feel like I need to be nice to the chatbot even. Please use the call to action to learn more by reading my blog post. Let's see what the good old... Okay, one thing I noticed, this happened to me before, there's emojis in there, and I would not recommend using the emojis in my Pinterest pin description. So I would then, you can talk back and forth. So then I would edit that and say, please remove the emojis from the description. So then you can edit it, and then it's going to send it to you again. But once again, you're typing that out. So, there is still a little bit of time involved. So please remove hashtags. That was one thing I noticed before too when I was using ChatGPT, was that I was putting hashtags in the Pinterest pin descriptions. And pro tip, as you are writing these Pinterest pin descriptions, that's something I get asked about periodically still. Should I have hashtags with my Pinterest pin descriptions? And the answer is no. Hashtags are out right now on Pinterest. There was a time where people thought that you should use hashtags, that it helped index your content. Right now, we are not using them. We haven't been using them for a long time. They do not help index your content. Pinterest has told us not to worry about them. So if the chatbot adds those, just tell them like remove, or when you're highlighting it, whatever, to copy it, then you can just not highlight the hashtags. One thing that is kind of cool here though is that, I don't know if you saw that, I just clicked on that copy button. So I always like edit it where I'll say like, please remove the hashtags. So let's check it out and I'm going to share my thoughts. So ready to become a Pinterest manager? First sentence, pro tip there when you're writing your Pinterest pin descriptions. First sentence, you want to hit on those pillar keywords that you want to be ranking for. So for me, Pinterest manager is what I want to be ranking for this pin. That's really the whole theme of that blog post too. So really important keywords there. It's hit in that first sentence. So check there. Ready to become a Pinterest manager. Discover the essential steps to kickstart your journey and unlock endless opportunities. That's kind of like dead space, that none of that is really providing keywords or like any meat. So these, like I said, this is me kind of giving my thoughts on the description and how well the chatbot nailed it. Learn how to optimize profiles, create engaging content, and drive targeted traffic to skyrocket your client's success. That? Great. Love that sentence. Explore my blog post to dive deeper into insider tips, strategies, and case studies that will set you apart in the competitive world of Pinterest management. Great. This blog post, though, does not share case studies. So once again, there's still a human need, and I probably could be providing even more in-depth prompts. But then it gets to the point where when you're having to write these really in-depth prompts and be super specific about what to include and what not to, you kind of have to ask yourself, would it just be almost as fast to write the pin description myself? Just something to keep in mind. And I will say, once you start going back and forth more with the chatbot and you can be really specific, you could even copy and paste some of your prompts and have some of those things included, like do not include emojis, do not include hashtags, and you can have better prompts. So that's part of it too, as far as getting that description and kind of nailing it that first time and not having to go back and forth or edit it yourself, right? So explore my blog post to dive deeper, blah, blah, blah. Don't miss out on the game-changing resource. Click now to read. That could be left out. Don't miss out on the game-changing resource. Not really super beneficial there. Click now to read more and become a Pinterest pro. That's fine. Learn more by reading my blog post. So those last two sentences could almost be combined. So this is just me being super nitpicky, and I've been doing this for a long time, so I kind of know what I want included, what is kind of dead space in that pin description. And the beauty of it is Pinterest is a search engine, and if you're using this really great natural language, keyword there, natural, I do highly encourage people to write pin descriptions and not keyword stuff, but in a natural way, like you were talking to a human, because a human should be the one reading the pin description, to still hit on those keywords. And if you just have some not random, but if you have some sentences that are almost just using a lot of filler words, that's just kind of a waste of time. So if you're going to use 500 characters, just make sure that there's necessary sentences included. I wouldn't fill it to 500 characters just for the sake of doing that. Now, if you have 500 characters and it's like meat and potatoes content, then that's great. That's beautiful. So this is some ideas, inspiration for saving time. As you can see, like I mentioned, I really do think that it can save you time, but I've still done especially for my clients, they are paying me to do their pin titles and descriptions. I am doing that. I'm not using AI plus because I know their content so well. To me, I'm still at the point where I haven't used ChatGPT enough, where I feel like I have enough prompts where it's saved me an insane amount of time, but I do think that it's a cool idea to explore. It could save a lot of time. And I think that one pro tip, a big takeaway, is that you are going to want to have those really descriptive prompts saved. Otherwise, I do think that it could possibly not save you as much time there. So this is kind of my thoughts on it, that it definitely can work and be super helpful with not only writing your long form content, but also writing your pin titles, your pin descriptions. And last pro tip, I should say, that when you are thinking about marketing on Pinterest, it thrives off of fresh content. So if you can use ChatGPT, remember how I asked for the blog prompts, if you can use that to help you save time and be more consistent with creating fresh content and long form content, then that's really going to be beneficial with your Pinterest strategy and growth. So not an excuse to fall into not best practices or anything like that, but when used well, I think that it can be a really great business tool. But I think you need to have a good handle on your keywords and really a strong Pinterest foundation in order for this to be a really helpful tool. So let me know what questions you have, and I will wrap this video up and tell you what we are going to work on next. So in today's video, I really am just scratching the surface of how ChatGPT can be utilized and really help you save time with your Pinterest marketing strategy. Before we part ways today though, I do really want to stress that I think it's so important to have a really solid foundation for Pinterest and how it works and how to use it for your business before you start diving into using a chatbot or artificial intelligence, because you're going to be better at discerning, oh, this is a great pin description, or this is a great pin title, and this is what I want to be ranking for. I think it's important to have that foundation, because if you are just publishing content for the sake of publishing content, then I think that you're going to be disappointed with your results on Pinterest. So I do want to mention that, and that's something that's really important to pay attention as you think about exploring the world of ChatGPT and using it to save time with your Pinterest marketing strategy. So I do want to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to check out that other video I mentioned as well, the 4 pillars of getting started with your Pinterest strategy, and that first pillar is keywords. So you've heard me talk a lot about that today. Be sure to check out that video, subscribe to my channel. Make sure, if you found this helpful, to like the video and let me know in the comments. I would love to know, because I think it's just such a hot topic right now, what you think about ChatGPT. And even if it's not in regards to Pinterest, if you've used it in your business and your thoughts. So I would love to continue this discussion, and I can't wait to see you again in next week's episode. Bye for now.